Hello, this will be a tutorial of the arm muscles. So before we talk about the arm muscles, let me talk about a couple of motions that arm muscles are going to produce. So if we look here at the elbow joints, this is the joint right here, we can have two movements of the forearm. We can have flexion, which is where the forearm is going in this direction, and we can have extension, which is where the forearm is going in this particular direction. So our upper arm muscles that are located up in here, here, and here are going to cause either flexion or extension to occur. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at some of our muscles that are going to cause flexion, and then we'll look at some of the muscles that will cause extension. So our first muscle that causes flexion is going to be the biceps brachii. Biceps means two heads. Brachii means arm. If you look here, there are two heads of origin for this one muscle that we call the biceps brachii. So the job of this particular muscle is to flex the forearm at the elbow joint. Our next muscle of flexion for the forearm is going to be the brachialis. The brachialis is tucked in underneath. I can see a piece of it right here and a little piece of it right here. If I were to cut the biceps brachii, you would see it's a flat muscle underneath of the biceps brachii. This muscle is called the brachialis, and brach means arm, and it's going to flex the forearm at the elbow joint. So it works in conjunction with the biceps brachii. Alright, so next we'll go ahead and look at a posterior view of the arm. So over here we have a posterior view of the back of the arm, and we can see the triceps brachii located in this particular figure here. So this is the triceps right over here. It's on the back surface of the arm. Triceps means three, so it does have three heads of origin that you can see in this particular image here. That's where it gets the term triceps. Brachii, of course, means arm. And the job of this particular muscle is to extend the arm. So it extends the forearm is the job of the triceps brachii. Alright, so in this particular diagram we've taken the biceps brachii and we've cut it. So we've cut it in so we can see underneath, and we can see that the brachialis is that flat muscle underneath. So I just thought it would be interesting for you to see this particular view of the muscles. Alright, so you should practice at all times. So here I have an anterior view on the left hand side and a posterior view on the right hand side. You can go ahead and practice a few of those muscles that you just learned. So you can stop the video now and practice. Alright, so let's move on and talk about at the wrist joint what kind of motions we can make. So here is the wrist joint right here. If you bring the hand in this particular way, that's called flexion. If you bring the hand in this particular way, it's going to be called extension. So we have muscles that will do both flexion and extension of the hand at the wrist joint. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start with some of these muscles here. Now remember, this is an anterior view of the right forearm. These are superficial muscles that we're talking about in this particular diagram. So our first muscle we're going to look at is called the brachioradialis. It's a large muscle here in the forearm. Brach means arm. Radialis refers to the radius. If you notice, this is the thumb side of the arm. This is the anterior view. On the thumb side we have the radius that runs along that particular side. So the radius runs along this particular side over here. And so this brachioradialis is going to be connecting the muscle to the arm, and it runs along the radius. The job of the brachioradialis is to flex the forearm at the elbow joint. So at this elbow joint it's going to flex the forearm, and we've looked at what flexion and extension mean of the forearm at the elbow joint in a previous image. Alright, so next we'll look at the flexor carpi radialis. So this is the flexor carpi radialis right here. So flexor means it flexes, the carpi means the wrist, and radialis means it goes by the radius. so it's on the radius side. And this is going to flex the hand at the wrist joint. Okay, so at the wrist joint, this is going to flex the hand. And we just looked at what flexion of the hand looks like at the wrist joint in a previous image. All right, so next we have the flexor carpi ulnaris. So this is this muscle right here, the flexor carpi ulnaris. So it flexes the wrists, flexor carpi flexes the wrist, and it goes by the ulna, which again is on the pinky side of the hand. So if we take a look at its job, it's going to flex the hand at the wrist joint. Okay, that's flexor carpi ulnaris. And last in this particular picture, we're going to see the palmaris longus, which is this muscle right here. If you notice, it goes down, here's that tendon, it goes down to the palm. So this is called the palmaris longus. Palmaris refers to the palm, longus means it's a long muscle. The job of the palmaris longus is to very, very weakly flex the hand at the wrist joint. So on the anterior side, I would assume you could see a pattern here. At the anterior side of the arm, we're going to have mainly flexors. So all of these were flexors and doing that particular job of flexion. Now if we go deeper, we can see an action of a muscle called the supinator. I'll show you the picture of the supinator in just a second with all the superficial muscles cut through. But just to remind you what supination is, so over here on the left side we have the anterior palm in anatomical position, so you can see the front of the palm. When you pronate, you're basically going to move the hand so you see the back of the hand. In supination, you're going to pull that that hand backwards so that you can see the palm again, and that's what we call supination. So if you took your hand and you rotated it so you could see the back of the hand, and then you re-rotated it so that you could take your palm and make a bowl of soup out of your palm, that's what supination is. So you see the soup in supination. If you make a little bowl of soup with your hand, that action is called supination. And we do have a muscle called the supinator that does that particular action. So this muscle right here is called the supinator, and this is a deep muscle. So I've removed in this image all of the muscles so that you could see a deeper view. And if you notice, it does grab a hold of the radius, and it does attach to the humerus, and it allows for that bowl of soup making action called supination. Alright, so you can pause the video now and you can look at the anterior superficial side on the left, or the deeper anterior view on the right, and you can practice studying those muscles. Alright, so next we're going to go ahead and move to the extensor side, the back of the arm in anatomical position. So notice that this is a posterior view of the right forearm. These are superficial muscles that you're viewing in this particular drawing. And we'll go ahead and start with the extensor carpi ulnaris. So extensor carpi ulnaris is this muscle right here. And if you notice, it goes down to the wrist. So the job of this muscle is extensor carpi, extends the wrist, and it goes by the ulna. The ulna goes by the pinky side. So this is extensor carpi ulnaris, and it extends the wrist at the it extends the hand at the wrist joint. Okay, our next muscle is extensor carpi radialis longus, and it's this muscle right here. It extends the wrist. It goes by the radius, which is on the thumb side, and it is going to be long. So extends the wrist, or extends the hand at the wrist joint. This particular muscle is long, and it's going to be found on the pinky side. Excuse me, it's going to be found on the thumb side of the hand. Okay, and our last muscle in this tutorial is going to be the extensor digitorum. It's this muscle right here. If you notice, all of these tendons from this muscle go down to the digits. So you can see it has extensor, so it extends, and digitorum, digits. So it extends the middle, distal, and proximal phalanges. So that's the job that the extensor digitorum does. Okay, well, we have the last image there that you can stop the video now and practice. Okay, and that concludes this particular tutorial on the arm muscles. So make sure you go back and practice frequently so that you can learn the muscles of the arm. We'll see you next time.